Hey guys, Jackdaw here, back with another news roundup, this time with February's updates on the next Dragon Age project and BioWare's future. We've got a lot to talk about today, so booting this off, let's delve into what I would consider to be the most exciting news update in Dragon Age 4's history so far. And that is the removal of the next Dragon Age's multiplayer component. That's right, Dragon Age 4 is going to be strictly single player, but don't just take my word for it, let's get into this story. So according to Jason Schreier via Bloomberg, Electronic Arts have made a major pivot in the popular Dragon Age series, allowing the developers to remove all planned multiplayer components from the game, according to people familiar with the matter. Jason shared further, the next Dragon Age, which doesn't have an official title or release date, had previously been designed with a heavy multiplayer component, said the people who asked not to be named because they were not authorized to speak to the press. In recent months, it has transformed into a single-player only game after EA was stung by a recent multiplayer flop. EA announced the new Dragon Age in 2018, but has not shared many details since then. Behind the scenes, the game has been in flux, game website Kotaku has reported. During development, some members of BioWare's leadership team fought to pivot the next Dragon Age back to a single-player only game, according to people familiar with the discussions. Jason summarized that this decision was made after Chief Executive Officer Andrew Wilson and other executives changed their minds following Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a single-player game that released in November 2019 that won critical acclaim and outperformed EA's sales expectations, reaching more than 10 million players in its first 4 months. The second thing that changed the execs' minds was BioWare's Anthem, a multiplayer game that was widely panned when it launched. The games showed that single-player games could still be lucrative and that BioWare, traditionally known for its single-player role-playing games, might be better off returning to its roots. Now honestly, this is just the best news we've ever received on the future of Dragon Age, and I am just filled with excitement knowing that we don't need to think about live service elements and multiplayer components for the next game. It's just going to be single player like the franchise has always been, and I'm just so relieved to hear this news. While I was reluctantly open to the idea of a live service Dragon Age with a multiplayer component, it's just not what any of us really wanted and expected for the next Dragon Age. So I am incredibly happy to hear that the next game is going to be strictly single player and we don't even need to worry about live service or multiplayer components ever again, or at least at this current moment in time. BioWare can just focus on creating the best narrative-based single player experience. And it's just such a relief, honestly. It just really feels so much better going into the next Dragon Age, knowing that we don't need to think about that. With that said, I do want to come over more details revealed in this article. Jason specifically wrote that BioWare will remove all planned multiplayer components from the game. This makes me wonder many things. Are BioWare removing the already existing live service components, or have they been cancelled before implementation into the project? How much of the current project is already a single player experience, and how much work is it to remove the multiplayer elements from that project? Of course, these are all rhetorical questions, but ones that I imagine have been discussed within BioWare. I personally don't think the removal of this multiplayer component is a soft reboot of the entire project. I think the developers already have a single player vertical slice of the next game, and perhaps they were working on adding live service and multiplayer to that. But then leadership were able to change the project and keep it strictly single player. Of course, that is just rampant speculation, but as we know, thanks to Jason Schreier's 2019 article on the past and present of Dragon Age 4, he reported that many of the BioWare developers knew the project was going to change like 5 times in the next 2 years. Even further, in 2019, BioWare was still working out how they were going to incorporate live service and multiplayer into Dragon Age. Now, Jason Schreier stated that he heard some ideas for the next Dragon Age multiplayer included companions that could be controlled by multiple players via a drop-in, drop-out co-op system, similar to Baldur's Gate, and quests that could change based not just on one player's decision, but on the choices of players across the globe. But truthfully, at the time, the team didn't didn't know what it would look like and how they would incorporate it. So of course, there is no way of knowing at the moment. We don't know the full extent of what has been implemented into this working project. However, we do know that the game is sharing Anthem's codebase, so perhaps the removal of multiplayer is a matter of changing some approaches to the engine, maybe making the online servers private. I can only guess at the steps they need to take. But regardless of whatever multiplayer/live service was planned, it's being removed. And Dragon Age has taken a huge shift forward in its development. And since this transformation of an exclusive single-player Dragon Age was made within recent months, we've got to touch on Mark Darrett and Casey Hudson, who respectively resigned in December. They believed they were stepping away from this project, knowing that it would be okay and in safe hands. So surely they knew about this decision and probably fought for a Dragon Age game designed to be strictly single player, which completely validates why the two would say that they're leaving, knowing that Dragon Age will survive and thrive without them. Adding more to it, it really is incredible to see that key staff in leadership roles at BioWare were fighting for a single player Dragon Age 4. It's just amazing and honestly humbling to hear that the developers genuinely care about their fanbase and what we're saying, but also about the games themselves and what direction they want to take it in. Now on top of that, Jason did tweet that despite this single player push made by key developers, there are also people at BioWare who very much wanted Dragon Age 4 to be a multiplayer service game. Reality is never as simple as EA wants X, BioWare wants Y. And honestly, that's completely understandable. I don't take that as a resentful thing either. I think that a multiplayer Dragon Age could be a great idea. And I think it's great that many developers would like to push and do new things with Dragon Age. I just think that right now, with Dragon Age's pressing omelette cracking narrative, the focus should be on that for the time being. But when Dragon Age's narrative is done, I would completely be open to a multiplayer Dragon Age, and I can respect the idea of a multiplayer live service Dragon Age game in the future, just not right now. But carrying on with one of my final thoughts about this, one of the saddest things about this rework is that Mike Laidlaw left the studio after Project Joplin was canned. As we know, because I've talked about Joplin to literal death, Joplin was a Dragon Age entry about spies in Tevinter with a huge emphasis on player reactivity and choices and consequences. However, Joplin was cancelled in 2017, so the next entry, known as Morrison, could then add live service and multiplayer components. With Morrison now being a single player game, it is going to be interesting to see if this project follows a lot of what Joplin had planned, or if it becomes something different. I think with parts of Joplin's narrative already being publicly revealed and with a different creative director, Morrison is definitely going to be a different entity, but even so, I do wonder how different it will actually be. Regardless, I do empathize for the teams who did work on Joplin and now get to see that Morrison is going to be a single player game. In any event, as you can tell, it is just so good to have this security over the next Dragon Age in 2021 when we don't even know when the game's coming out and it's in its early production stages. I know for a fact a mighty burden has been lifted across the entire fandom. So thank you so much to the leadership who fought for this change. It's really just going to make the fandom incredibly better, honestly. Anyhow, shifting tones, we do have to discuss what's happening with the Anthem Next reboot and what it means for Dragon Age 4. So for the uninitiated, Anthem was undergoing a reboot with a small team at BioWare Austin since 2019. However, at the start of February this year, according to Jason Schreier, EA were reviewing the progress of Anthem Next, with the intention of deciding what happens and whether the team should be expanded with funding or if the project should be put to an end. On February 24th, BioWare officially confirmed their decision regarding Anthem Next. In the spirit of transparency and closure, Christian Daly shared a few words in a new post on the BioWare blog. Now, Christian was previously the executive producer of the Anthem Next project. However, in December, he was shuffled to the Dragon Age team following Mark Darrett's departure. Christian Daly shared, 2020 was a year unlike any other, however, and while we continue to make progress against all our game projects at BioWare, working from home during the pandemic has had an impact on our productivity and not everything we had planned as a studio before COVID-19 can be accomplished without putting undue stress on our teams. I know this will be disappointing to the community of Anthem players who have been excited to see the improvements we've been working on. It's also disappointing for the team who are doing brilliant work. And for me personally, Anthem is what brought me to BioWare, and the last 2 years have been some of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my career. Game development is hard. Decisions like these are not easy. Moving forward, we need to laser focus our efforts as a studio and strengthen the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect titles while continuing to provide quality updates to Star Wars: The Old Republic. Continuing from this, Andy McNamara, Director of Comm Strategies at Electronic Arts, shared on Twitter, "I see people ripping BioWare for this, and I know I can can't change that. But COVID has been a global challenge, and these types of decisions aren't easy for them. Anyway, less hate, more hope. I am saddened about Anthem, but the teams are hard at work on some amazing stuff. And even further, Chief Studio Officer Laura Miele was interviewed by IGN about Anthem's cancellation and the direction EA are taking. Miele said, "As I started this current role, I wanted to strip away some of the preconceived notions about what games we should be investing in and really start listening to players and incorporating their voice into our development process. Since then, we have announced a slate of games that players asked for: a new Skate game, college football, a Command & Conquer remaster, the Mass Effect trilogy, and we developed free content in Battlefront 2 for several years to turn the perception of that game completely around." Regarding Anthem's cancellation, Miele said that ultimately the studio needed to allocate its time and resources to franchises like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and that the COVID-19 pandemic made it especially difficult to make the game into what players wanted. Miele shared further about being player focused doesn't mean making everyone 100% happy all of the time. She pointed back to Star Wars Battlefront 2, where EA DICE were able to take their time to turn the game around from its original form, which players were unhappy with. In summary, while not everyone is happy with Anthem's cancellation, obviously it's not a good situation, BioWare are able to now have a laser focus on the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect, which is fair to say what a lot of the fans want at the moment. Personally, I do feel greatly for the developers who have poured their hearts into that project, and I admire the chance that BioWare did take to create a new IP separate from Mass Effect and Dragon Age. The teams truly took a risk, and I think that we can all respect that they tried to do something original. However, unfortunately, it hasn't panned out as intended. I suppose one silver lining from this situation is that BioWare have learned a lot from Anthem's development, and the developers are able to bring that into the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect going forward. Moving on from Anthem's cancellation and delving into BioWare's future, earlier in February, EA had an earnings call discussing their plans up till Q3 2021. As a TLDR, Wilson shared that BioWare have recognized the few blips in delivery over the past few years, but EA and BioWare are confident in its future roadmap. The new leadership team are taking the studio in a new direction, and overall EA feels good about ongoing success of BioWare, and they plan to reveal more in the future. So all in all, things are looking up for BioWare and its future titles. Moving on, back in December, when Casey Hudson and Mark Darrah decided to leave BioWare, the Edmonton Journal reported that Mark Darrah actually agreed to stay at BioWare until February to help with this role transition. As of February 5th, Mark Darrah officially left BioWare, having spent 23 years at the company. I know I speak for the fandom when I say that we deeply appreciate the time, energy and love spent on Dragon Age, and we're all wishing Mark very well on his future. Also at the start of February, creative director Matthew Goldman stated that it was his 12th anniversary of working on Dragon Age. In celebration, Matthew revealed new Dragon Age concepts, ideas and insights that have been archived over the years. One of Matthew's most prominent posts was an image of the Dragon Age font that featured in the 2020 Game Awards trailer with its golden accents and circular designs. Now, not to tinfoil everything, I'm just throwing this out there, but with this design looking like spheres overlapping, it reminds me of an eclipse, like the codex entries from the Emergent Compendium. So just for fun, I'm throwing Dragon Age Eclipse out there as a potential title. I'm honestly quite fond of that for a title, but let me know your title ideas down below. And the other prominent post from Matthew Goldman regarded a cool image by Kafka Sai that I'm not going to repost because it is fan art, but it resembles the enigmatic figure in the Game Awards trailer, the one that we're all speculating to be an agent of the Executors. Well, Matthew said that this figure is the mysterious V Archer. Veilfire, Void, Venatori, who knows? Maybe it's an upside down triangle that represents the Executors. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time speculating on this one. However, we have somewhat of an indication on this already extremely mysterious character with their triangle bow that has this Veilfire-like magic. And finally, Dragon Age Dark Fortress, the next set of comics continuing the plot since Knight Errant, is almost here. In a mere month, we're going to have more lore, character developments, and content to delve into. One of the amazing writers, Nunzio De Philippis, shared the third and final issue's killer solicit text, along with a release date. It read as followed: an epic battle with epic consequences unfolds as Fenris and a team of Inquisition agents confront the dark forces determined to impose their terrible will upon the world. Valor and sacrifice are the order of the day, and when it's all over, none will remain unchanged. Honestly, I can't wait to delve into this. It sounds like we're gonna have a huge character death, and I don't think I'm ready to process and think about that right now, but I'm certainly ready for more content with Autumn, the best Mabari warhound ever. The final issue of Dragon Age Dark Fortress releases May 26th, so get pre-ordering. As a reminder, issue 1 arrives in a month on March 31st, issue 2 releases April 28th, and the final issue is May 26th. Very soon, we're going to have 3 months of Dragon Age content releasing, so jump on board with me for that and check out the latest comics. But that'll do it for today's load of news. Let me know your thoughts down below. How do you feel about a single player Dragon Age? What are your thoughts on BioWare's future? And please, let's respect the developers who've worked on Anthem and just support them instead of throwing flack at them. Let's build a great BioWare community going forward where we respect and support the developers. But anyhow, for all your things Dragon Age and Mass Effect, you can bet Andraste's sweet bosom you're already in the right place. Until the next one, I have been Jackdaw, and I should go.